United Nations Senior Mediation Adviser, Emmanuel Bombande, has commended the presidency for setting up the Commission of Inquiry to look into the shooting incident that marred last Thursday's by-election. The former Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs called the setting up of the commission a significant and bold step, and confident that persons selected to constitute the investigative body will bring their integrity and experience to bear in their work. He spoke on PM Express Wednesday evening.
For me, the Commission of Inquiry would then help us to go deeper and tackle the root. And all of us admit that, whether we like it or not, whereas we are referred to as a beacon of democracy in Africa, we have created demons. And those demons could devour us. Those monsters that we have created, we are calling vigilante groups, have the potential to create an environment in which all of us would be so much threatened. And that is why it is not just about looking at the threat, but its potential impact and how do we prevent that threat.
Okay.
So we agree vigilantism now is a threat. We agree its potential impact from the Awayasu Wagon was by-election. But what measures do we take to ensure it doesn't happen? And if you look at it from this level, that is why I appreciated the commission, because they will elevate us beyond our partisanships.
Okay.
And create the environment in which we can look at one another in the mirror and say, look, despite what we said we have achieved democratically, we are falling short. What do we do to rise up above this demon that we have set up to destroy ourselves and then go forward into the future?
Well, Mr. Bombande's co-panelist on the same show, Justice Sremsai, who is a private legal practitioner, is worried about the constitutional powers of the commission.
When I see the Commission of Inquiry and I saw the individuals, I was happy. But then when I look at the container, the Commission of Inquiry itself,
as prescribed by the Constitution,
then I get worried. Why? A Commission of Inquiry, which is a legal, establishment, as we know, the first problem is that whatever recommendation the commission brings out is subject to what? The president's discretion, whether to accept them, accept some of them, reject all of them, or accept or reject some. So therefore, at the end of the day, we still have to go back to the political, discretion.
So he's not bound
he's not
to necessarily implement what comes to him by way of recommendation from the commission.
Exactly. Then, I don't know if you remember the Rekumbro, the Republic versus Rekumbro, the decision that came out.
Yeah.
At least that
was
is
challenged at the appeals court.
The challenge, yeah. So what actually the jurisprudence on Commission of Inquiry is now is that persons who are, investigated are brought before the committee to testify as witnesses cannot be prosecuted, because one way or the other, Commission of Inquiry, the jurisprudence is to look at problems and then try to solve it in a more elaborate manner than to pick individuals and prosecute them. Then the question is, if you invite someone as a witness and he says something, how then do you use his testimony to later prosecute him? Now, if you look at the second term of reference of the commission, it says that we should find persons...
Identify persons responsible for or who has been involved in the events associated with violence and injuries.
So, obviously, the persons who are responsible or who may be found responsible for this are likely to be persons who, if the commission was not there,
could have been prosecuted. Using the criminal
procedure. So the ultimate effect is that it is likely, looking at what has been happening, that the persons who may be identified per second, term of reference may not be punished, and that is where
may not be criminally
prosecuted, and if found guilty, punished.
Why? Because of the ruling on the back of the Ghana 50 thing.
Now, with this process, obviously, we are not going to see prosecutions to punish people.
So you don't see that happening here?
I honestly don't see that happening after the commission.